everyone, it's me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alanna and I'm a Canadian, but I have been living here in the UK for the last 7 years, and recently I was really surprised by my home. So recently I went home to Canada to visit my friends and family, and I came across 9 shocking things that I totally forgot about. So without further ado, let's go. So first up, there was something that drove me kind of insane, and it has to do with the power in Canada. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen I posted this photo of using the hair dryer in the bathroom. It is a real treat, let me tell you. And that is because it is safe to do so in Canada. The standard UK voltage here is 240 volts. In Canada, it's 120. So if we're thinking about pros and cons, in Canada, pro is that you almost always have power in the bathroom. And I know here in the UK, some bathrooms have the like razor plug prong outlet thingy. So some bathrooms can have a certain amount of power. Here in this flat, we don't have any outlets in any of the bathrooms. So you just kind of have to make do. Now, a con to this power difference, and what really stood out to me and was so annoying, is that in Canada, things like the toaster, things like the electric kettle take 1 million years. And I'm not exaggerating. This bothered me so much I did an experiment. So I put 1 liter of water into the kettle in Ontario, Canada. Now, I actually bought this kettle for myself and my mom. My mom doesn't really use a kettle back home because she doesn't drink tea. She has a coffee maker. So I actually bought this particular kettle maybe 2 years ago, but it's almost never used because it's just not. And it's like a pretty good branded kettle. So it's pretty new, it's a good brand. I put 1 liter of water into this particular kettle, and I wanted to see how long it took to boil. So go ahead and leave your guesses in the chat right now, because I was shocked. This kettle with 1 liter of water took 6 minutes to boil. I couldn't believe it. For comparison, of course, when I came back, I'm obviously back in England now, I boiled our kettle here. So we have a kettle, we use it multiple times a day. It's a couple years old now, but it's a good kettle. Like, it's a fairly good quality kettle. Again, I put 1 liter of water in. I set that to boil. Add your guesses down below. So we had 6 minutes in Ontario, Canada. How many minutes did it take to boil 1 liter of water here in Kent, England? Just over 2 minutes. That's it. I know it's not like life or death, or like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. But if you think about the time that you spend, because for me, the toaster drove me insane because I was like having toast and bagels, and like, I know I say bagels weird, don't mention it. And I'm like trying to toast them, and it was taking so long. And then I wanted to boil the kettle, and it was taking so long. And you don't realize, or you don't think about it here in England because it's not an issue. But it does make me think about how much time in a life, how much time in a life would the average Canadian spend waiting for the kettle to boil or waiting for the toaster to pop? I think it would be a lot more than you'd expect. Number 2 on our list of shocking Canadian things, I want to talk about the post, or perhaps actually in Canada speak, the mail. I can't say that I've ever seen one of these in England, but have you guys? So this is a community mailbox. So as you can probably guess, there are a bunch of different little slots or boxes for homes. So the mailman can deliver mail to a community mailbox rather than going to every individual home. Now, not every home or neighborhood has one of these. So my family home currently in Ontario does not use a community mailbox. We have our own mailbox. But my first house was in a court aka a close, and we had a community mailbox. I did read online one of the main reasons for these community mailbox things, at least in Canada, is it's cost effective, as you can probably imagine. It saves on time, so the mailman is not having to go to, 30 different homes. He can go to one spot, he can deliver everything, and then he can carry on. But it also helps with like wear and tear on the vehicle. You're not driving long distances to each home, you're just driving to the community mailbox. So it's cost effective. Not every place has them or every home, but I totally forgot about them. I can't say that I've ever seen one of these in the UK. If you have one, let me know. Next up, another shocking Canadian thing that always drives me insane has to do with taxes. Yay! I hate this. And I will die on this hill. So in Canada, first off, Canada's a big country. Canada is full of all sorts of provinces and territories, and taxes can vary. So what do? I hate this so much. When you buy something and you look at the price tag, that price tag does not include the taxes. Even when shopping on Amazon, so what I typically do, don't tell Bezos. When I go back home, it's usually for about a month. So I sign up to Amazon Prime, the free monthly trial, because there's usually things that I want to have at my family home in Ontario, so I can like buy little bits. And then when I leave Canada and I come back to England, I just cancel it. But I want that free Amazon Prime shipping. Anyway, when shopping on Amazon, it does the same thing. So you see, little items that I'd like. Maybe I forgot like a cord or something, and I'm like, great. $6, fabulous. And then you get to the checkout and then it starts adding in all the taxes. So taxes in Canada are kind of annoying, which is why I wrote it down. Are you ready? We have goods and services tax, which is GST. The rate currently is 5%. This is true in every province and territory, although certain provinces have combined GST with their provincial sales tax to make a single rate called harmonized sales tax, which is HST. Ontario is one of the provinces that uses this combined figure, this combined HST tax, which is currently 13%. So when I am shopping at the mall, at the grocery store, in a shop, and I'm holding items, in my mind, I have to add them all up and I have to add on 13%. It is something that is so annoying and I always forget about it because here in England, you don't think about it. You go to the store, something is £2. When you check out, it remains £2. And I love it. Maybe someday Canada can work out a system that would include the the final price on price tags. But until that day, I'm just gonna complain about it. Number 4, we need to talk about big open skies. It's something that always just fills me with joy. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen me posting about the sky pretty much every day. There is something about the big open sky. It just feels like the ceiling is so much higher. And even when there's clouds, we'd have cloudy days. It happens in Ontario. It felt like the clouds were just so much higher. I love it. Here in England, I love England. Obviously, I'm living here, so I do like it. But I do find that the sky ceiling feels so much lower. Even in a countryside, it just kind of feels lower. I don't know why. Maybe science can give us a call to explain why. I don't know why. It's just my perception. Because there is something about a beautiful, sunny Ontario summer day. Outside in the backyard, you are frying to a crisp because it is so hot and sunny, and the sky is just this big, beautiful, high ceiling. High sky, big sky. Next up, I would like to talk about the humble Canadian cashier. Now, I did my fair share of shopping when I went home. I'm not really a shopper, but I just wanted to. So I hadn't been to a mall in Canada in probably 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer than that. So I wanted to go to the mall. We ended up going to two malls. And then some odd shopping, in my hometown or we went to the cinema. So of course you're dealing with someone, you're buying some popcorn. We went out to dinner and lunch and all that kind of stuff. So we were dealing with a lot of like cashiers or servers or all those types of people. And oh my God, they're nice. You walk into a store and the cashier would genuinely be like, hey, how are you? And then the customer is like, I'm great. How are you? Oh, I'm fabulous. Thank you so much for asking. You need anything, you just let me know. And then the customer is like, actually, I was looking for a black top. And the cashier's like, oh my goodness, we have such a nice one over here. Let me show you. You're gonna love it. And the person's like, this is so great. Everything is fabulous. I'm so happy. I'm always shocked at how friendly and polite and chatty and engaging cashiers and service type people are in Canada. I love the Brits, but y'all don't know customer service like they have it in North America. I'll include America as well because they're really good at it as well. Some British people say they don't like customer service in North America because they think it's very fake. And I'm sure in some situations it is. You know, you're sort of forced to smile and be happy and that kind of stuff. But honestly, when I was out shopping, eating, drinking, all that kind of stuff, the employees that I came in contact with were so nice and funny and genuine and just seemed to be absolutely lovely. Not to say that British cashiers and people aren't nice as well. It's different. That's all I'm saying. It's just different. Number 6, something that was really shocking to me was actually British words. Now, let me explain. I was very shocked, surprised, startled with how many British words came out of my mouth. Now, typically I speak for that particular audience. Does that make sense? So when I am speaking to someone here in England, like I'm at the shops or I'm at the pub or whatever, and I'm speaking to a British person, I will consciously try to use all of the British words rather than the Canadian words because, you know, when in Rome. So when I go back to Ontario, I'm using the American words. I'm talking to my mom, my sister, just casually having a conversation. And yet the British words kept coming out. We were at the mall and my mom's like, hey, what are you looking for? And I was like, well, I'd really love a jumper. Or we were going out to dinner and I was asking my friend, is there a car park? Or I was asking my mom, where's the bin? So it is very weird. It's weird and it kind of messes with your own personal identity. So maybe any expats watching, it's weird. A lot of viewers ask, like, do my family think my accent has changed? No, I think, and me too, like it has changed, but not as much as maybe you might imagine it to have changed. It definitely has changed. If you've watched some of my old videos, my voice is different, but also I'm like 6 years younger. So age kind of plays into that as well. The thing that is different is my cadence. My cadence is more British and my word choice is more British. It's weird. It just comes out. It's just like, it's weird. I know I keep saying it's weird. It's just, it feels strange because that is not the word or the phrase that I grew up saying, or when I was learning how to speak, that was not the word that I was learning. Does that make sense? Anyway, I said a shocking amount of British words and phrases while I was at home in Canada with my family for no reason other than it just came out because there certainly weren't a lot of British people around. One shocking Canadian revelation I had has to do with driving distances. So here in England, I am very blessed that this is, on the grand scheme of things, a small island. I can get around just fine, and actually I can get around very quickly. And unfortunately, I am spoiled because when I go back home, when I'm in Ontario, and my mom's like, hey, so we're gonna go to this thing for the afternoon. It's 2 hours away. We'll be there for a couple of hours, and then we're gonna drive the 2 hours home. I'm just like, that's a long time. So my patience and my commitment to driving long distances for short activities or events and that kind of stuff has withered away. I used to be really good at it because as a Canadian, you just have to be. If you want to go literally anywhere, if you're driving somewhere, you have to swallow the fact that it's going to take a while to get there. Here in England, I'm very spoiled. I can get to the coast very quickly. I can get to London very quickly. Realistically, should I want to, and I really should at some point, I can get to France very quickly. I can just get around so fast. Not to say that trains and transport and owning a car is cheap in England. That's not what I'm saying, but it is quick. Next up, I would like to talk about, in true British fashion, the weather, of course. Now, Ontario, hot in the summertime. With the humidity, we were getting temperatures that feel like around 30, maybe even a little bit higher than 30 degrees Celsius. That's hot. However, the shocking thing is that you could forget how hot it was. Let me explain. Air conditioning. It is something that I always forget about. I'm not used to it here, of course. I go back to Canada, we go outside, it's hot, you're sweaty. It's just like very like oppressive heat. And you're like, you know what? I've had enough of this now. So you go inside and you forget how hot it is outside, which is not something that happens here. Here in England, it gets 30 degrees outside. It's gonna be even hotter inside. There's no escaping it, especially in the older homes here in the UK. A lot of them were built to retain heat, right? Get yourself through those cold, tough winters. But in the summertime, it's unbearable. So most of the time when I was back home, I forgot how hot it was because I'm like inside, I'm working, like I'm still working. So, you know, I'm on my laptop, I'm doing stuff, and I would forget how hot it is outside because of the beautiful air conditioning at home. It's definitely a privilege that I appreciate. Here in England, if it's 30 degrees, you know that it's 30 degrees. And you won't forget. Moving right along, I would like to talk about good old-fashioned bug bites, if you don't mind. A big part of when I go home is being outside. So I don't have a backyard here in England anymore. My last property, I didn't have the greatest backyard either. So when I go back home, I gotta get outside as much as humanly possible. Now, whether that is going for a pleasant walk around the neighborhood, going for like a proper hike, or just sitting in the backyard, I need to be outside. But unfortunately, after about a day or so, I was covered in bug bites. And I guess I don't really notice that as much here. Even like I've lived in a bunch of properties now. I've been in England for 7 years. I've lived in a bunch of different places. Some better than others. And I have had backyards and I've sat outside and, you know, read a book after work. And I just don't remember getting bit all that much. But in Ontario, summertime, the mosquitoes, wow. It's like they have a vendetta against you. There's a lot of bugs, a lot of mosquitoes, lots of other like unknown flying entities, just a lot of bug bites. So just an observation. Definitely notice a lot of bugs back home, which is helpful to have screens on the windows. That's another thing that I've talked about. I wasn't going to mention it here, but it makes sense. Back home in Ontario, pretty much every window is going to have a screen on it to protect you from the bugs. Here, it's less likely. None of the windows here have screens. None of the windows at any of my homes in England have had in built-in screens. We do get house flies. Like the flies in the summertime can be really annoying, but they're not like biting flies. Anyway, I think I'm getting off topic. A lot of people ask me like, do you feel Canadian still? Are you British now? Like, what's the deal? And I wish there was a easy answer. The best way I can put it is I still feel very much in the middle, like two halves. Half Canadian, half British at this point, but it is kind of wild. I go home to Canada and I'm shocked and surprised by stuff. And then I come home to England and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that this is different and this is different. It's just kind of like, it's a lot. But I personally love exploring the differences and like being aware. Sometimes, you know, you just sort of live on autopilot and you just like boil the kettle and you make a cuppa and then you go sit by the window with no screen and you're sweating because there's no aircon, and you just sort of forget that life is different elsewhere. But I love digging into those differences because it makes life fun. If you guys would like to watch more content, which would be totally awesome, why not check out this one? I did a vlog in Canada to show you guys what it really looks like. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye!